Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Cher, and I am the co-founder of Purple Lotus, where we make finding a therapist 10 times easier. Today, we'll be hearing from Rebecca Yang, who's an incredibly talented musician, and she leads Music for Mental Health. Hello, Rebecca. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you please introduce yourself?
I am a current master student at McMaster, and I also, like Cher said, I lead a nonprofit called Music for Mental Health, where we create music that raises awareness on mental health. I've been playing the piano for since I was 7, and I've been composing music since I was 14, and I've co-written a lot of Music for Mental Health's songs that we've released so far.
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction, Rebecca. So, you mentioned music for mental health. And I'm sure our listeners would be curious what first got you interested in the intersection of music and mental health?
Honestly, probably just listening to music as part of my own mental health journey. Like when I remember in first year of university of my undergrad, I was having a really tough time and finding artists who wrote on the same issues that I was going through, I felt it made me feel a lot less alone. When I started Music for Mental Health, I guess I just wanted to contribute to that area and bring together a group of people who were also passionate in that area.
Awesome. Thank you. And Rebecca, we've had conversations about our shared ADHD before. So, could you please tell us about your journey or experience with ADHD?
So basically, I was diagnosed with ADHD at age 7. Fortunately, that diagnosis got lost in the sauce, and I was re-diagnosed at the end of high school. So basically, growing up, I've always had an issue with teachers being angry because I wasn't paying attention. Like it's been a recurrent topic in like parent-teacher interviews, things like that. So I created a lot of frustration in the adults in my life early on because of my ADHD. And then I guess when I was old enough to care about grades, I eventually just saw grades as like that like dopamine hit that I would get. So basically in high school we had this platform where you could check your grades for all your assignments like every day, and I would do that every day. It was like the first thing I checked as soon as I got home, and basically seeing all the high numbers gave me dopamine, um, and it was like, look at how smart I am.
Mm-hmm.
um, and yeah, and basically that was a huge part of my motivation to study. Yeah, so I guess like a bit more of a backstory, but basically my entire life, because of my ADHD, I'd always felt like I was stupid or incompetent because of it. So seeing like the good grades and seeing that I was quote unquote a better student than the other kids in my class gave me a lot of reassurance in a way, I guess. So anyway, fast forward to the end of high school where I did the IB program, which to people who did the program, y'all know that you don't get the same like constant feedback um as before. So I basically lost all of my motivation to study pretty much instantly. And then I became really depressed because then I was like, well, I'm doing all this work, but I nothing is like paying out. I felt like I was just doing work for nothing. And then everything started feeling pointless. And then even as I told myself, you know, it's only for 2 years, it's only for 2 years. Um, yeah, that was kind of like my my downfall. Um, struggled with that for the next 2 years, as well as my first year of university. It kind of just got progressively worse. Um, and then in second year, I was on medication, which worked great until I had um bizarre side effects that basically made it so that I couldn't take my medication anymore. So unfortunately I had to go back off, even though the medication, like while I was on them, they did help me. So yeah, and that brings us to pretty much our current era where I have been raw dogging life with ADHD for the past 5 years. And whether or not I'm doing good is up for debate, but I am in grad school, so I guess it can't be that bad.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that is such a, I feel like that's a story that hits close to home for me as well. Because growing up, I also have, I had undiagnosed ADHD. No one put me under any sort of surveillance because my parents didn't believe in mental health. Um, and so I did well in school, and so it just went under the radar. And so once university hit, like, it was just kind of like a big shocker that, like, oh no, my dopamine's gone. Um, yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that. And I'd be so interested in talking more about like your grad school experience later on during the interview. So I'm actually curious, like you're not taking any medications, you're raw dogging it. Do you have any strategies for like managing your ADHD?
Um, I think people underestimate the importance of actually getting a good night's sleep every night. I think I noticed that my grades got a lot better when I actually prioritized my sleep. Basically, like because of my ADHD, I think it's made me very independent as a learner because I've never been able to follow a lesson. Um, so even if you sat me in front of like a lecturer or a teacher, like I would still end up learning it like completely by myself because I wouldn't be able to follow what was being said. Um, but otherwise, like I did find that I did a lot better when I just did it at my own pace, on my own.
Hmm. Thank you for sharing your strategies. And so, what do you think are some things that people get wrong about ADHD or some common misconceptions that you heard while growing up?
Um, for one, like not all people with ADHD are gonna look the same. I wasn't the hyperactive little boy getting into trouble all the time, getting into fights, like running around the classroom. Um, a lot of the times ADHD could just look like daydreaming or um, because like the hyperactivity is mental, is internal. I would also say that sometimes just because it looks like somebody's doing well on the outside does not mean that they are actually doing well. Yeah, because in undergrad, I would say a lot of the times, like I got good grades, ran my extracurriculars, I ran music for mental health. Um, but really, like if you looked at how my life was functioning, you can't objectively say that it was good. Like I was struggling to, get out of bed in the morning. I was struggling to, cook. The money that I spent on takeout, um, is something that I don't want to look at. Um, I was probably not looking after myself as much as I should. And also, I think if you looked at the amount of time that was sunk into each task, it's going to be a lot longer than you expect because of all my trouble focusing. So even though you see that it looks like I'm getting good grades, I probably took 3 times to do that assignment as you did, 3 times as long, if that makes sense. Um, but that's just me. Like for other people, it could look differently as well. And then my other point was going to be that be careful what you believe on social media, um, because there is like a lot of misinformation. So I don't remember the exact statistics, but one of the research labs I was in last year, they found that I think it's approximately like half, or it's either half or like some other mega huge statistic, that like percentage of videos on TikTok that are just completely like misinformed. And I really think that doesn't come from like a place of like deception. A lot of the times it's like people who either are diagnosed, who have ADHD, or who think they have ADHD, making videos on certain experiences that they have, and other people seeing those things out of context will see that and they'll be like, maybe I have ADHD. Um, but really like that's not the case. Um, I also see a lot of like I guess romanticization of ADHD or like other neurodivergent conditions because it's kind of seen on social media as like quirky or cute when people don't actually understand like the real struggle that is behind that. Um, yeah, 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 I don't know. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing, Rebecca. And so let's talk about you're doing a master's program. So that implies you're doing research. So can you tell us a bit more about your research that you're doing in your master's right now, Rebecca?
Yes, so this is going to take a little bit of a pivot. So this year I started my master's at McMaster. I am studying cannabis use right now, cannabis use and cognition in particular is what I'm focusing on. So the projects I'm doing right now are around one is a cross-sectional meaning all the data is collected at the same time or like in one at one time point. Um, so one of the research projects I'm doing is a comparison between people who smoke cannabis every day versus people who smoke cannabis only occasionally. Um, and we're comparing to see if they have differences in cognitive performance. And the other project I'm doing is if basically how uh, cannabis users' cognitive performance changes over time. That one is not as developed as the first one, but it is coming along. So hoping to see some cool findings soon. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And for a student who's maybe just entering university, worried about the future, what's one thing that you'd want them to take away from this conversation?
I think a big thing that I learned actually during my time as a student is that mental health and any like struggles you might be experiencing, whether that's ADHD, whether that's depression, um, it's really easy on paper to say like don't blame yourself. But a lot of the times like people don't actually realize like literally the if you're struggling with something like that thing is it's really not your fault. Like obviously, I guess you could say it is up to you. It is like your responsibility to take care of yourself and to make sure that you're doing the best that you can. Um, but doing the best that you can does not mean run yourself ragged until you can't keep going anymore. Um, just to, perform quote unquote well. Um, and I think that's something that's like a message that I didn't realize until I tried medication for ADHD. And then I started functioning like a lot better. And then I was like, holy crap. It kind of made me realize that with the medication I was doing better. And then without the medication I couldn't seem to function even though I tried. It really isn't because I was lazy, because if I was lazy, then I would choose to be lazy on or off the meds, right? But when I found that I was on the meds, I could actually do what I wanted to do, and off the meds, that was just so much harder. And I guess how that ties back is that it really wasn't my fault. It wasn't me that was making me not function as well. Like it really is just sometimes your brain. And your brain is mean sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for chatting with me today. And I think you had some words of wisdom that our listeners can appreciate, especially our younger listeners who might be neurodivergent themselves, kind of going through this process of uh, figuring out life and also some different avenues they could explore, so such as research or even starting a nonprofit of their own.